Hello gamers, my name is Spark, and today I'm going to show you an awesome one-of-a-kind tool that you can use at your D&D or other TTRPG table. In this video I'm going to show you a job board generator. If you're a GM, pay attention because you're going to like this. If you're a player and this sounds fun, send this to your GM with a wink and a nudge. Just a heads up, I built these generators specific to D&D 5e, but with just a little bit of tweaking, they can work for basically any TTRPG. Here's how this video is going to go. For starters, I'm going to show you the basics of how this tool works and how you can use it at your table. Then I'm going to show you what's happening behind the scenes to make the generators work and how you can customize it to better fit your campaign. Okay, so let's take a look over here. This is our job board generator. Starting off with just the basics of how this thing works, you click the generate button. Ta-da! It's that hard. It's a very simple thing to use. All of these tools that I've created are very simple to use, and they all function around the generate checkbox button that starts it all. What you can see here are 5 randomly generated quests that you could put, or tasks that you could put on a job board. Let's say your players arrive at a tavern, or they come into a new town, or they're looking for something to do. Let's say you had planned on your players slaying the dragonling, but now all of a sudden your players have said, no, let's not do that. And now you as a GM are sitting here going, I wasn't ready for that. You could just make something up on the fly, and there are a lot of GMs who are really good at that. My experience as a GM, I always felt dissatisfied with the stuff that I created on the fly, because I felt like, I don't know, it's not my inborn natural skill to create in-depth or really interesting content from off the cuff. And that's why I created these generators. So let's take a look at some of these and you'll see what I'm talking about. In need of bodyguards for a local noble, temporary. In other words, this is a temporary position, right? Reward on offer, a talking doll, definitely not haunted. Inquire after Brain Stone Snow, the rightful heir to the finest property in town. So that's a listing that could be on the job board. And there's a lot here, right? There's a lot of interesting things here. Who's the noble? It's a local noble. So why, and it's just a temporary position, why do they need a bodyguard? I don't know. The job board doesn't say, but this gives you, the GM, an opportunity to create a reason, right? And again, you don't have to know these answers right off the top of your head. You don't have to know exactly why. Your players may not be interested in this job at all, and so you don't have to flesh out any of the backstory for it. But if your players are like, oh hey, let's be bodyguards, that sounds fun, well, that gives you time to generate this story in your mind, right? It's not you having to snap your finger and all of a sudden have everything ready. You have enough in this little post to get them started and to get your creative juices started. Who's the local noble? Why do they need a bodyguard? What's the deal with a talking doll? And what's the deal with Brave, who's the finest, or the rightful heir to the finest property owned in town? Like, just there's so many hooks here, there's so many open threads that you could pull to create something. But if your players don't want to pull those threads, we haven't wasted any time with you creating a bunch of job listings that your players don't even want to pull, right? Let's look at another one. Thieves! Someone took an amulet made of silver and ivory. Reward on offer, 1 dozen of the finest potatoes in the realm. Inquire after Clayton the tanner. So we've got this, you know, what my brain does here as the GM, if this was my table and this was my job board. Okay, we've got a relatively humble, poor guy named Clayton. He's the tanner. He doesn't have any money to pay you with, right? His amulet of silver and ivory was probably the family heirloom, and it was probably his insurance. If things ever did go bad for their family, his family, and he needed the money, he would sell his family heirloom. But now that's gone, and all he has to offer you is some potatoes that he probably grew in his backyard garden. And so I get to create now Clayton, who's this poor tanner guy, and he's got a family, and maybe his wife's dead and he's got starving children. You know, I can play that trope or whatever, all just from this. And then of course, who's the thief? Is it bandits? Is it an ex-wife? Is it the mayor's daughter who is jealous of all things pretty? You get to generate those kinds of things. Looking for brave souls to map out a recently discovered cave system. Reward on offer, 66 copper. Experience horse trapper, I should enunciate that a little more carefully, the mage. Well, this mage is really cheap to only offer 66 copper, but again, this is where you get to add some depth. It's like, okay, well, we don't know anything about Mage Horse Trapper, except that he's cheap or broke. So these are all just some examples, and you'll notice they up here in our settings, we have 5 different types of jobs that can be generated. We have retrieval jobs, which is what this one was. Someone took my amulet, go retrieve that amulet. We have hunts and hits. Doesn't look like we got any of those. I'll show you some of those in a second. We've got needed labor, which is mapping the cave system. We've got an escort contract, which is the bodyguard. And then we have quest hooks. And this is where you, when we get to the second half of this video, when I show you how to work things from the back end and how to customize this job board, that's where that comes into play. Let's take a look at some hunts and hits. So they all start with wanted, dead or alive or captured alive. Sometimes it'll just say dead, right? Bonus if alive. An unknown beast who has been attacking outlying homesteads. Reward on offer, free room and board at the inn for 7 nights. Inquire after Rocky Smill, the shopkeep. So who's this beast? What is it? And you get to, roll on your random beast generating table, or maybe you have something going on in your overarching quest campaign and you can tie this to that. It's like, well, this particular campaign that they're on is to go eventually to go slay an undead beholder, so maybe this will be a horde of undead that's attacking outlying homesteads, and you can connect those two, right? And you'll notice that we get different types of rewards, like this one's gold, this one's discounts, this was free room and board. My eternal gratitude is the reward on this one. All of these are randomly generated, and so it just keeps things fun and fresh. Just to show you, if you click quest hooks only, you just get sample. That's because there's nothing in there right now. The quest hooks are for you to enter in later. So again, you're not going to get anything out of those. So you get to select these as the DM. Maybe you don't want your players doing any escorts, so you can just leave that unchecked, right? You can just let's just do retrievals and hunts and hits. Click check, and you'll only get retrieval and hunts and hits generated. If you scroll down, there is what's called the jobs archive. And this is where I give you the opportunity to store job boards. So maybe your players go and look at the job board and they're like, I don't know, let's think about that for a second. Well, we'll come back to it in a couple days after we've done this one thing. Well, the catch with this job board generator, I'm going to zoom back out a little bit, is if you change anything on this spreadsheet, these cells will refresh. These are called dynamic cells. And dynamic cells will refresh when you do anything. Like I'm just going to hit the delete button on my keyboard. All I did was press delete. I didn't even delete anything. There was nothing in that cell to be deleted. And yet all of these refreshed. I'm going to type in something and press enter. Everything's refreshed again. So if you have a job board and you read them all to your players and they're like, oh, that sounds really interesting, let's come back to that later. You're thinking, oh, I want to save this. You could just leave it up like this, but if you press any random key accidentally, they're all going to go away. And so I've given you a place to save them where they won't disappear. So that's what these are down here. This is the archive where you save those. I've got these collapsible cells, these collapsible sections in here. And so you're going to come up here, you're going to copy, you're going to just drag and select all the cells that you want to save. Maybe it's only this one, maybe it's all 5. So you just select all and then go copy, which is Control C or Command C if you're on Mac. And then come down here, open that, and now we have this area, and this area directly mimics the same space right here. And so you would just go right click, paste, values only, and there they are. The exact same 5 that we had copied. Now notice they're different. They're not the same ones anymore. This one was dead or alive, bonus if alive. That's not this one anymore. Why did that go away? Well, because we pasted something. And so that triggered the dynamic cells refreshing themselves. And so, but now we can hit delete as many times as we want to, and these are here forever. So and then you can just close this, and so it doesn't take up a lot of space. And you can come in here and change any of these that you want to. So like maybe this was job board for the tavern, the Rat's Hat Tavern. This is the job board outside of the Rat's Hat Tavern. And so that you can just edit these titles to help you remember what's in there. And then for notes, you can type all sorts of stuff. And that's the cool thing about Google Sheets, is that you can put almost literally an endless amount of information into a single box, and it only takes up as much space as you want it to. So we can see that there's only those few characters visible But if we look up here in the actual function box, we can see all the things that we wrote. And so we could type paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of information in here in notes, and it would only take up one cell on the screen. By the way, this one tile is a cell. Like that's a cell, that's a cell, that's G35, cell G35, that's cell G40, and so forth. Do be advised though that collapsing and uncollapsing these sections does refresh the dynamic cells up here in the generator. So an unknown beast who has been attacking, if we open that, that changed. And so if you want to save the job board, make sure you select and copy those cells before you expand where you want it to be saved. You'll also notice that whenever you have something pasted in the archive, it lets you know that you have no openings in stack number 1. So this is stack number 1, no openings, but stacks 2, 3, and 4 each have 5 openings. If you were to just paste 1 right there, it would tell you it has 4 openings left, 3, 2, 1, no openings left. And so this is just an easy way for you to remember where you have things stored and where you don't. Oh, and of course note that if you come back in here and delete these, just highlight and press the delete, that it shows you that those openings are back. Okay, so that is the introduction. That's the basics. You now know how to use this job board generator, a really easy and fantastic way for you to generate some fresh and unique activities for your players to engage in. So this job board generator isn't my only generator. I have dozens that I'm sure you'll find exciting. This table that you can see on screen now shows all the generators that I've created and which of them, at the time of publishing this video, have video tutorials like this one. All of my random generators are available for purchase on buymeacoffee.com for just a couple bucks. Links are in the description. If you're enjoying this video, now would be a great time to share it with other gamers. Please hit the like button and subscribe, it'd really help me out. It's customization that sets my random generators apart from all the others. If you're a widely experienced GM, this probably isn't your first random generator you've toyed around with, but it will probably be your last. No other tool has allowed you to customize the code and master lists, so you can personally craft your own spectrum of results. I'm going to show you that now. So you'll notice down here I have 2 different tabs. One of them is the tab for the actual generator itself, and the other tab is the reference tab. Every one of my generators has at least one reference tab. If you click on that reference tab, it takes you over here. I'm going to zoom out a little more, where you can see a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm scrolling left and right now. And you can see, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. What is all of this? This is the engine that runs the machine. So I'm going to show you what these are and how you can use this information on the screen to customize the job board generator itself. We said there are 5 types of jobs: retrieval, hunts and hits, and so forth. We'll look over here. You can see we have retrieval, hunts and hits, needed labor, escort, and then quest hooks. So this is where you can customize how you want jobs to be created or what you want those jobs to have inside of them. Each one of these sections has the sample sentence that is being built. So you can see for the retrievals contract, we have introduction, item, reward on offer, reward, inquire after. And each one of these brackets, there are 4 brackets here, and that's what these 4 columns are underneath them. Up here in introduction, it will generate one random thing from this entire column. In which case, it will start with either I've lost, in search of, looking for, conducting research, need help finding, or thieves, someone took. It will generate one of those 5 every time. However, if you wanted to add one in there, we're just going to write sample. Let's come back here and just generate retrievals. Again, that's where we added the sample in the introduction. Click generate. Sample, an extra planar contract. Sample got put into that introduction part right there. And then an extra planar contract was the item that got generated. And so this means that you can add or subtract anything you want to from this list. And it will be the introduction to the retrieval contract that's available. You can do the same thing with items. Like, what is it that we're trying to retrieve? We've got looks like 25 different items already in here, but you can add literally as many as you want to. And I mean that. You can go down, you could create thousands. Like, this column just keeps going down for as far as you want it to. Like if you scroll down to the very, very bottom, you hit 1,001 rows, but you can just add 1,000 more rows by clicking this button and then keep going. And that's true for all 5 of these different contracts. It's built so that all you have to do is add stuff into the column and it will automatically be added to the draw list. Do make sure that whatever you add is butted up to the bottom of the current list. Don't leave any gaps. Don't type stuff there, because then what it will do is it'll potentially select the blank cell as the result. And so then your sentence will have a hole in it. And if you understand the principle of how this works as far as just adding things in these columns as far down as you want to, you understand how they work for all 5 of these sections. 2 areas where this is a bit unique is the reward on offer for the money. Now you'll notice I'm going to just cycle these cells by pressing delete, and you'll notice that these figures up here and these names are changing. They're dynamic cells. We have copper, we have silver, and we have gold. So these 3 cells are actually functions. If you look up here in the function box, you can see it's not just a number and then copper. Like some of these, if you click any one of these, it's exactly what it says it is. But in these, it's not. It's a function ran between, which is where it will generate a random number between x and y. And in this case, x is 1 and y is 100. You can change those 2 figures if you want to. If you want it to be up to 1,000, you can do that. And you'll see now that it's generating a random number between 1 and 1,000 up there. And so you can change these figures. Just make sure that the first figure is always lower than the second figure. And then as far as the names go, these names are being randomly generated from, scrolling over to the right, these names over here. So we have a column of names for males, we have a column of names for females, and then we have a column for surnames or clan names, and then we have a column for professions. And again, these work the exact same way they do over here. You can add things to the bottom to make the list longer. You can delete names or professions that you don't like and tailor this list to exactly how you want your generator to run. We currently have about 45 professions in the list. We have we've got a lot of names in here. We have about 234 male and 234 female names. And then for surnames, we currently have, looks like about 578 surnames. Lots of names in here makes it so hopefully you never get the same name twice, therefore keeping each job unique and fresh. So again, if you look up here, it's a function. All this function does is pull the name, whether it's a male or a female, adds a surname to it, and then adds a profession to it. So for this one, you would not want to add anything down into here unless you wanted to add specific names that will always be there. As it is right now, all of these names will randomly generate. And so you can probably just leave that where it is and not have to worry about it. Now let me show you the last thing over here, and that's just your number 5 quest hooks. The purpose of this section is to give you, the GM, an opportunity to add quest hooks that are specific to your overarching campaign. Maybe you want certain quest hooks that have to do with the overarching campaign. You want them to be subtle. You want them to be in the midst of all the other ones that are just solo jobs, right? Well, this is a way that you can just type in, get Timmy from the well. And then we can come back here, and if we turn on quest hooks, get Timmy from the well. And so if we turn on all 5, oh look, get Timmy from the well was actually selected twice. That's because there's only 1 here, right? If we had 3 dozen in there, then it wouldn't be Timmy both times, right? But that gives your individual quest hooks a chance to pop in to give the players an opportunity to see something that you specifically want them to see. And that's it. That's the job board generator. Super simple, easily customizable. Make sure every job board has a unique job that the players will be curious to investigate. Thank you for watching. Remember, I have dozens of other generators, so be sure to check them out here on YouTube or at buymeacoffee.com. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and happy gaming.